you guys could see what? A lot of branches that are on the ground. Why? Because those are not going to bear fruit. And you know what? It's hard work because you got to go in here. This one's not going to bear fruit. The Lord says every branch that does not bear fruit, He what? He takes off. He takes off. And what happens to them when they're taken off? They die and wither because they're not connected to the vine anymore. There's no going back. It's done. Okay? If we come closer here also, there's a reason why it needs light. The Lord said He is the light of the world. And look at this. Being the vine dresser, you got to go in there by hand. Did you guys know that with all this technology in Silicon Valley here, we have not developed any machine yet that you can pull in here with a tractor that will sucker, that will do the thinning that needs to be done. It still needs to be done by hand in the 21st century.
Oh, praise the Lord.
You know? And you know what? Being a vine dresser, it's not about being a machine. You've got to get in there. You've got to get your hands dirty. And our Father in heaven, Jesus is the vine. We are the branches, these green shoots. Okay? Look at how green and healthy they are. The Lord knows exactly what it is that we need. It takes about 36 inches, about 20 leaves per shoot. This is called a shoot, to ripen 2 clusters of fruit. Isn't that amazing? It's not just, a lot of people think, oh, what are you guys doing out there? It's not harvest. A lot of people think that being a grape grower is just harvesting once a year and then sleeping. No, it's a lot of hard work. You got to plan, you have to thin, you got to prune. Pruning is hard work. These branches that are backwards over here, that are not exposed to light, okay, they're not going to do well. They're susceptible to mold, to diseases. They need to come off. What did I just do? I cut it off.
Oh my.
This is the tools of the vine dresser. Okay, they're sharp. And you know what? All these also come off. Only the vine dresser has the shears. That's his job. Okay, it's not our job. If it were our job, we'd want to be able to prune others, right? Thank God that it's His ministry, that our Father in heaven is the one that does the pruning. You know, and may He continue to have mercy on us. He says, every branch in me that He removes, and each that does, He still prunes anyway. There's no getting away from pruning, even if you do produce fruit. Right? Cuts sometimes are painful, but they need to happen. Did you guys also know if we didn't prune, this would be what's called overcropped? This is a finely balanced vine here. Every single one. We have 26 acres on this property. Okay? Every single vine has to be thinned, pruned by hand. We harvest by hand here. Okay? Because only that way can we guarantee the highest quality fruit. Verse 3, you are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you. We just talked about that everything that is now down can't produce. But another thing, a lot of people don't know this, and this is a biblical term. We've used it. What are we? We are grafted in, right? By faith. A lot of people don't know the DNA of the European grapevine, wine grape, comes actually originally from the Caucasus region, like Azerbaijan, Georgia, that area. It's not native to North America. It comes from Europe. It was brought here originally by the Spanish missionaries, and they were planted on their own roots. Well, one thing, there are soil-borne pests here, okay? They planted them originally on their own vines by themselves. Guess what? No immunity to the pests and diseases. So they got contaminated and died. This is a rootstock. This is native to North America. This here was grafted, is European in origin. This part here above the ground, from this section up, has no immunity to many of the pests here on the ground. But as long as it abides, as long as it's grafted in to this rootstock here, this has immunity. It's got to be connected. And as long as it's not on the ground, this protects this from diseases and from pests. And Christ also says, abide in me and I in you. As long as we're connected to him, the true vine, we have immunity from condemnation. We abide in him. We can, apart from him, we can do nothing. Okay, this is how they look when we plant. Did you know that there's a lot of housekeeping that needs to be done? But there's some sections, some vines, some arms that die like this. Guess what? They have to be what? Cut off. Also, stuff that's on the ground, not these, but any big parts. There's sections of arms that get caught. There's a disease called eutypa. It dries up and the arms die. And what happens, pieces of dead wood, it's not over yet. Pests, there's beetles and different type of worms that like to bore in there. Okay, and they attract pests, and if you don't cut them off, it'll contaminate the rest of the vine. Okay, and so anyway, what does it require? The saw to be, you've got to cut off those dead parts. But what does his word say? It says in verse 6, if anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are what? Gathered and thrown into the fire and burned. Have you guys seen what happens, guys, when they pull out the vineyard? You guys seen those big piles empty? What do? They put those big piles, right? You think they just stay there? No, they got to burn them. You guys know why? Because if they just leave those piles of dead wood, it attracts pests, rodents, bugs. And when you bring other bugs, they contaminate your vineyard. So you have to put a match to it, and they get thrown in the fire. What? So that what remains can continue to produce good fruit. Actually, you know what?